Alright guys, so we come to the big one. We come to Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now this one's interesting to talk about because it surprised me so much looking at this movie as a whole, looking at it whenever it came out. I remember going to the theater and seeing this. I saw this 3 times in the theater. I saw Force Awakens, I think, 3 times as well. But whenever I went to see Last Jedi, I was really not wondering where it was going to go because The Force Awakens I really loved and enjoyed, and I still love The Force Awakens. And going into The Last Jedi, looking at it as a whole, after I got out of the theater, I remember liking it first viewing, but I didn't love it as much as Force Awakens, funny enough. But looking at it now and looking at it with how many watches how many times I've seen the movie, honest to God, I love this movie. I think it's incredible. It is a movie that you love it or hate it, and that's it. You either say, oh, it's good, or you say, this is the worst piece of shit in the world, which is what a lot of Star Wars fanboys bitched about and cried about. Star Wars has always been in that mindset. Like, people have always been in that mindset as Star Wars fans, as narrow-minded and stupid. They literally look at these movies and go, wow, this movie did something a little different, I hate it. The prequel trilogy was the first example. The original trilogy came out, and I know that there was criticism on Empire whenever it came out, but then it gained love after the years, and Return of the Jedi got criticism, of course. Then the prequel trilogy came out, and of course that got a lot of negativity from fans, not really from critics. Those movies were either mixed or positive reviewed, but Star Wars has always had that problem. And then Force Awakens came out. People were complaining about it being similar to A New Hope, and it was by the numbers. And whenever I just reviewed Force Awakens, I thought it was like a New Hope copy, but I thought it was so well written and so well done. And then we come to The Last Jedi, which the arguments for this movie, man, I don't understand them. So, I don't know where to start with this thing because I genuinely love it, and it's actually my favorite of the franchise. So, looking at The Force Awakens, a movie that's very familiar to A New Hope, and then looking at The Last Jedi, a movie that is very different, but also has a lot of Return of the Jedi in it. It's so weird to see both of them in how different they are. But you know what? I think that both of them are very cohesive, extremely cohesive, with how they are formed and how they are placed. With this starting point in The Last Jedi, it starts right after The Force Awakens. It's literally the minute it ends. It actually, at a point, it doesn't even end yet in The Force Awakens, because in a couple of minutes after this starts, Rey meets Luke. So it's already different in terms of that, but it literally starts after the last movie ends, which Star Wars never does. Because all the movies, like Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, are like 10 years. I think Revenge of the Sith is 3 years. New Hope to Revenge of the Sith is like 20. I think Empire is like a year or 3 years, and then Empire to Jedi is like a year. So, like, Star Wars has never connected literally right after the last movie ended, which is a cool thing. And I'm going to say a lot. There's a lot of cool things about this movie. I really love the fact that it starts out like the movie ended, like you're at the final action scene, which I thought was a great change of pace, because the negative I had with The Force Awakens, small negative, was that you had the Death Star thing again, and it was like, do we really need to do this again? But because Rian Johnson is so great, he wrote it to where Poe learns a lesson. He screws up and kills half his comrades because he goes out and is a cocky pilot. So I love the fact that they built into that from The Force Awakens. They built in from a criticism. I think that's really great writing and really smart. So I really like how the opening is like the ending. I think that's great. Like the ending climax of a Star Wars movie. That's really awesome. It's not what you expect. And of course, like everything in this movie, it's not really what you expect. So, where do I start? I wrote down notes because I really do want to be cohesive about this. I really want to point out the things that I really do enjoy about it. So, looking at things that Rian Johnson did that aren't in the other movies. I really like the idea that anybody could use the Force. I like the fact that he kind of implies that anybody who is special enough to wield the Force, like if they have a strong will, they can wield it. I think that's a really cool idea and a good elaboration on the Force, and something that I think goes over a lot of people's heads from this movie. Like, people usually complain about other stuff, but I like how this has that, and I'm surprised people aren't complaining about that more. I love how in this movie you don't have to be part of a higher important character from the other movies. You just are special because you're special, like Rey. And I love the fact that Rey in this movie goes through so much, and that reveal of where her parents are nothing, or Kylo says her parents are nothing in this film. She is special because she has a strong will. She's just a hero. And I love the fact that it's just a message that anybody can be special. I think that's a very, very cool idea. Definitely as opposed to the next one we're going to talk about, but I love that idea that you can just be special, like to use the Force. Like, you don't have to be part of a magical family like the Skywalkers or the Palpatines. Like, you can just be yourself and use the Force if you are strong enough to wield it, if you've got a strong will. I love that. I love that idea. And I liked how at the beginning of the movie, like, whenever Paige Tico dies, like, it does a zoom in on her face where it's like her eye, and that makes a noise like she could sense something, like using the Force, like, or at least that sound effect made it feel like that, which I thought was a really cool idea. Again, I really like that idea of using the Force, like anybody could wield it. That's really cool, because again, you don't have to be part of a special power. I'm reiterating this more than once. You don't have to be a special Skywalker or a Palpatine. You can just be yourself, in Rian Johnson's world anyways, which I prefer. But I really like that. And then the kid at the end, the broom kid, where like he uses the Force too. Like, he heard the stories about Luke Skywalker, so he thought he could do it, and he did it. I thought that was really cool. So looking at the choices Rian Johnson makes in this movie, I honestly love them all, but I think that looking at these choices, the one I'm going to mention right now, still genuinely surprise me, because of how Star Wars is usually placed in their trilogies. Everything they did in this one was fascinating. The fact that Luke gets killed off, but I mean, I felt like it made sense because, of course, in all three of these movies, it's each one of the original trilogy characters, and this one focuses on Luke. But killing off Luke, killing off Snoke, killing off Phasma, literally killing off everybody for Kylo Ren to be the big bad. And Rian Johnson set it up so well for the next movie. Like, if it was just Rey versus Kylo Ren, that would have been a great movie. I would have loved that. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see a sequel to this. Not what we got. And like I said, I'm trying to be coy about Rise of Skywalker, but it's just, you already kind of feel like you know what I'm going to say. But I just love the fact that he killed off all these characters in a way so these new characters could grow and expand and really delve into them. I just really appreciated that with Kylo Ren becoming the big bad, and it would have made total sense if he was just the big bad in the next movie. That would have made total sense for me. I love that. I think that's awesome. So it would just be like no holds barred. Like, it would just be Rey versus Kylo Ren, like yin and yang against each other. That would have been awesome. Now, I love that so much. And I guess next I'm going to talk about the characters. So you've got Rey and Kylo Ren, and I love the fact, like I said, that they're yin and yang kind of characters, where like one side rises up, the other rises up with them, the light side and the dark side, and they can somehow connect to each other through the Force, which I thought was really cool, that the villain Snoke in this connected their minds where they can actually see each other from far away. And it makes good use of it and good sense, because Rey and Kylo Ren are separated throughout, because they've got to go on their own journeys, and it makes total sense. And I think it's a great point of having them connect like that. I think that's a really cool idea. And that's one of the only ideas they continue on in Rise of Skywalker. but I really appreciated that. I thought that was really a great way to establish their rivalry, but also it's forming like a bond, like a friendship or even a love. Like, I think that's really just really, really well done, and I love that and appreciate that. That throne room scene where Kylo kills Snoke, and then they fight together. They fight the Praetorian Guards, and then Kylo tells her to join him. I just think that works so, so well. And the fact that it's basically just Revenge of the Sith again, but he actually overthrew the Emperor, or the Emperor of this movie, Snoke. Like, Kylo killed him, and he's on his own. He's now going to rule, and he wants Rey to join him. I thought that was great, and I really, really loved that and appreciated that. And that throne room scene is just incredible. And that scene where they're breaking apart the lightsaber, they're both using the Force, and it breaks, is great. Along with the editing of everybody else in danger at the same time, like Finn and Rose in danger, and then Holdo using the hyperdrive into all the ships. That's just incredible editing right there of all those moments together. Like, I really loved. It's really, really well made with the editing as well. But Rey and Kylo Ren, fantastic. Luke Skywalker is fantastic as well. Looking at Luke Skywalker in this movie versus his original trilogy character of himself, it's so interesting to see, and it got a lot of backlash, even from Mark Hamill himself, which I thought was very fascinating, and I think he took it back afterwards, after he saw the movie, but at first he was like, I disagree, I don't agree with this. So, it's interesting to look at Luke Skywalker 30 years later, being the last Jedi, being the only one, being the one stuck with this idea of something that he never knew about, that he is stuck with for the rest of his life, and all he's seen is Jedi getting killed and screwing the world over, or the galaxy over. So Luke Skywalker becomes a fallen hero, and I really love the idea of that. I love the idea that Luke Skywalker struggles with the idea of this mythical thing that he knew nothing about, besides fighting with his father and having his father die, and then watching as the world is recreated again with the First Order as opposed to the Empire, because he inadvertently did what Obi-Wan and Yoda told him to do in the original trilogy, go kill his father. And then in this one, he tries to kill Kylo Ren, but he has a moment of hesitation, and then of course Kylo sees it, or Ben sees it, as a younger kid, and then that creates the villain, Kylo Ren. I think that is just so incredible, just using the idea of that, using the idea of the hero creating the villain, and the hero becomes a recluse. And I feel like that plays so well with Luke Skywalker's character. I like how, in the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker is so impulsive, and he doesn't listen to Yoda and Obi-Wan, and then it screws him over in Empire whenever he goes to save his friends, but then he almost dies. And then in Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan tells him to kill his father, and he says he won't. And that creates the Emperor almost killing him. So I like how Luke actually took advice from the Jedi, who are hypocritical. And he even says this to Rey in the movie, that Jedi are hypocritical. And like, they created the rise of Darth Vader and Palpatine, and Darth Sidious. They created these people. It was hypocrisy, and I just thought that was incredibly well done, with the fact that Luke Skywalker is a complex character this time. Like in the original trilogy, he's just this character who's along for the ride, but he's a great hero in the original. But I love how in this one, he was a symbol of hope in the original trilogy, and he's not in this until the end. Like, he does save the day, again, like Luke Skywalker does. But I just think it's so fantastically written, the way that they use Luke Skywalker. If he was just the exact same character he was in the original trilogy, I would have been like, are you serious? Like, this would have been, to me, like, it just would not have worked. And I think all the risks that Rian Johnson did in this movie paid off really perfectly. So I love Luke Skywalker in his iteration, and everybody can suck it, because I don't care, because I think it's great. I think it's a great iteration of Luke Skywalker. It's the best, it's the most complex, it's the most best written, it's the most interesting, and the best acted by Mark Hamill. So that's how I feel about it. And then we've got Finn and Rose. So Finn and Rose, are trying to get this code breaker to get the hyperdrive fixed because they're getting chased by the First Order. So because of Poe's screw up, so they fail to find this code breaker. But I like the fact that Finn in this movie, as opposed to the first one, is running away all the time. In this one, by the end of the movie, he gains the perspective of fighting for the greater good, actually joining the cause, and actually going to fight for these people that he's become great friends and family with. And I really like that. And I like how Rose is like the chip on his shoulder, where like she's kind of the angel, like she's telling him like to do the right things. And then you got DJ, this kind of like Pinocchio-like character, which is funny, but he's the devil, of course. And I just really like that idea, and I liked how they utilized Finn in this, because I liked how they did in The Force Awakens, and I think he's great in this one. And the next one, all he does is scream Rey, so I'm glad that this one at least gave him some character, as opposed to the next one. So, Finn is awesome. Rose I really liked a lot. Again, too bad the next one just put her in the background and didn't give her any lines, really. So, yeah. And then we've got Poe, who is the cocky pilot who screws up at the beginning and makes the big mistake, and inadvertently creates everything wrong in the movie, like that gets them into trouble. And then, of course, he doesn't listen to Holdo, so he gets them in even more trouble. And I really just appreciated that. I thought it's cool to see all these characters fail in this movie. Like I said, with Poe, with Finn and Rose failing to find the codebreaker, with Luke failing to save Kylo Ren, and Rey failing to save Kylo Ren, and Luke failed to not kill Kylo Ren in the past. So all these things to me work very, very well with failure, and that's the lesson of the movie. Like, you fail and you have to deal with it. I think that's awesome. But Poe and Leia are great together. Their characters are kind of interconnected in this one. The most. They're really the ones that are together the most. Leia is in the movie, but then for a while she's not, because she, of course, flies out the window and then comes back in Mary Poppins style, which I thought was fine. People made fun of that, but I thought that was cool, seeing her use the Force for the first time. I thought that was great. And, of course, I gotta mention Holdo. Laura Dern, awesome. She's great, like usual. And DJ, I thought, was an interesting character. At first, the first watch I watched this, I got annoyed at him because he always did that stutter. But then, like, as I thought about it, I'm like, man, it made even a character like that memorable. Like, so I like that no matter what, Rian Johnson is trying to find some way to have these actors or characters memorable in a certain way. And the thing I love the most about The Last Jedi is that people hate it, because then it's so memorable. People remember it forever. Whenever you don't like something that's forgettable, you're just going to forget about it. When it's a movie that people get viciously angry about, they're going to remember it forever. And I love that, whether you like the movie or not. That's awesome, the fact that people remember this movie. He made that much of an impression on people. The guy who probably gets death threats to this day from bitchy-ass whiny Star Wars fans. So, good job, Rian Johnson. Good job. And I've already loved Rian Johnson's stuff. Like, love Knives Out and I love Looper. Brick I remember liking, but I've only seen it once. But man, I love that so much. And I love the fact that the last act with Luke and Kylo is fantastic. And it's so cool because this movie, it's weird. It kind of breaks apart from the third act structure, it feels like. Because you've got... I mean, it feels like it, but it technically isn't, because I think there's 3 acts, really. The last act is just on Crate, but the second act with the throne room, where Snoke is killed, it feels so much like the end of the movie, but it works really well just establishing that. But the third act is fantastic. Like I said, that and the Snoke throne room, great set pieces, great action, and I love the fact that Luke is that much of a trickster, and I think that it works so well. Again, another thing people don't like, that he wasn't there. But I don't give a shit. You know why? Because he taught Kylo a lesson. He made Kylo learn a lesson. He actually is, in a way, changing Kylo, because Rey was trying to change Kylo, and also Luke was trying to change Kylo. Trying to apologize to him, but he knows that he won't forgive him. But I like how this inadvertently will maybe save Kylo Ren in the Rise of Skywalker. Um, because this guy can be saved. It's just like Darth Vader, like he can be saved. So I like that fact that all these characters are trying to save him and he's just so far gone, but I feel like Luke made enough of an impression on him. And Luke, of course, could not fight Kylo Ren and die. That would have been a terrible way to kill Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker not being there, I think, made the biggest impression on Kylo Ren, because then Luke saved the day and he was thwarted, Kylo Ren. So everything was for naught for Kylo Ren. Like he lost the people he's trying to get. Everything. So I think that that's a bigger impression than them having a lightsaber fight, which is, to me, the easy way out. Just have a lightsaber fight. Like, I wouldn't want that. I'd rather have these characters actually develop and actually have them go through this arc. And it's just so well done with that fight between both of them. I truly love it so much. But, man, just looking at this movie as a whole, like, it's fantastically done with everything, with the writing, the acting, the editing, the action sequences. And I know this is cliche to say for this movie, but all the risks that he took, I thought worked very, very well. I liked every one of them. I liked the ideas. I like the ideas that they're trying to, the Jedi are extinct, maybe have them stay extinct. You could still be something else. With a lightsaber, but that doesn't mean you have to abide by being a Jedi again. And that's something that we're struggling with in real life today, about like values and like political shit, where like it's like people are trying to change and then people are not. So it's like I could see that too as well, even in the shitty ass world we're in right now. So but I digress. Just love The Last Jedi. I think it's incredible. I'm surprised I only talked about it in under 20 minutes. But it's great. Well, my favorite Star Wars movie. People who hate it can suck it. That's all I could say. Yeah. So let's talk about the next one that I'm going to complain about the whole video. And I hate complaining about stuff, but I'm going to have to. So Rise of Skywalker is next. Yay.